Good planning has graced Adelaide with some lovely avenues and boulevards. And one man who spends a lot of time thinking about that is David Laurie OAM. He's the founder of TreeNet, a non-profit group dedicated to improving our urban forest. To understand what that means exactly, David showed me some elms which I reckon most of us would drive straight past and not even notice. So keep a lookout for this magnificent avenue, just off the eastern side of Fullerton Road at the Wade Arboretum.
It was planted in 1928 by the University of Adelaide. Soon after, the land was given over to the university by Peter Waite, and it's a magnificent example of aspirations, I think, of what avenues in Adelaide could have looked like. Green Hill Road, for instance, was based very much on this model, and it was planted 10 years later.
David, the trees on Green Hill Road, I noticed, are not doing as well as these. Why is that?
Well, first of all, Michael, there's no traffic. So we don't have a compacted road base. We have got natural irrigation here from rainfall in a well-mulched environment. We don't have irrigation to turf. And of course, when the water was turned off with water restrictions, the elms in Green Hill Road suffered.
Look closely at those elms. You'll see that over the years they've been damaged by vehicles. The scars and hollows allow disease and infection to take hold. Add in drought, lack of irrigation, no wonder these elms are really struggling.
Well, the Department of Transport have asked the University of Adelaide, TreeNet specifically, to redesign Green Hill Road for the future. Save as many of the existing elms as we can, and we've done that. And we've chosen replacement species that we know will be there for another 100 years.
This is one of the trees that TreeNet have selected to plant on Green Hill Road.
Yes, Michael, it's a crow's ash, and it's going to just look absolutely magnificent in another 100 years. I mean, this tree is already 80 years old, and it looks as if it's got at least another 80 in it. It's a native. It comes from the dry rainforest of Queensland and New South Wales, and so it's got that lush look about it.
Where else could you plant it?
Anywhere in Adelaide except perhaps Port Road.
You might also notice these new trees in the middle of Green Hill Road. In time, they could grow to this, the impressive Angophora costata, or smooth-bark apple myrtle. It may look like a eucalypt, but it's not. Originally from the east coast of Australia, they're now being planted right across the country. The Angophora has strikingly coloured bark, sweet-smelling flowers, and best of all, it's not that messy.
Just fabulous.
Yeah.
And here's another tree that David assures me we'll be seeing more of.
The wilga is a terrific tree because it grows naturally on clay soils, and we've got plenty of that in Adelaide. It sits beautifully under power lines, provides nice low shade. It's about the right scale for a small urban street. And in fact, they're now being planted in Mitcham, Burnside, Norwood, all over the place.
David, let's look at a few beautiful tree-lined streets that we know. Victoria.
Good idea. Well, isn't that iconic? Victoria Avenue, of course, is the one that they love to drive down it, because you can actually drive down Victoria Avenue on a hot day and you can see the temperature gauge on your car drop 2 degrees. It's so cool and leafy. And of course, they're plane trees, and they would have been planted, I believe, sometime around about the same time that these were planted.
Frome Road?
Frome Road has plane trees, of course. They're doing very well because they're hooked into a 6-foot sewer main. 18 years ago, Crossroads was replanted with plane trees with no overhead wires. They're absolutely fantastic.
So next time you're stuck in traffic or out driving around, take time to appreciate some of our fabulous avenues and boulevards. The kilometres of Norfolk Island pines which line our esplanades, the ginkgos near the zoo, of course our fantastic Moreton Bay fig trees, North Terrace, Hutt Street, the carob trees of Kernelight Gardens, and of course the magnificent date palms and ficus hilli down the middle of Anzac Highway.
David, when we plant a tree in our own backyard, we water, fertilise and prune them regularly. Do we do the same with street trees?
In the first 2 or 3 years, that's exactly what they would get, just sufficient water, maybe 50 litres a week when establishing, fertilised only once at planting, because really they don't need, in fact I think probably gardeners overdo it a bit with trees, but who wouldn't love a tree to death?
You know, it's important to remember that, like us, trees have a lifespan, and from time to time we have to replace trees, preferably before they die. Now if we don't do that, these beautiful trees and boulevards that here in South Australia we take for granted won't be there for our grandchildren and their grandchildren to enjoy.